Hello there, welcome to my channel. I'm Angela from artofrye.com. I wanted to highlight these today. I don't know if you've seen these by Pear Press. They started out with this one. It's a tea ruler but with the differences I am going to show you. So this is for making A2 cards, and by popular request they brought the one out, a larger one, for making A7 cards, which I think is your 5x7 cards. They're both the same to use, but they do have different measurements on here. I'll show you what those are for in a minute. I'm going to put this one to one side for now and just show you the features on this one because they're the same on both. I'm really sorry if the light is shining on the ruler and you can't quite see it, because I'm filming this on a night and I've had to put the ring light on. So this is a tea ruler, but like I say, it is a tea ruler with a difference, because if you notice, you've got your measurements in inches on each side, but they obviously look different. That's because they have a 0 in the middle. One's for your portrait cards and one's for your landscape. So if you wanted to find the centre of a portrait card, I'll use this because this is the A2 size card. So if I wanted to find the centre of that, I would use this side, and that's the centre there. If I wanted to use a portrait and I wanted to find the centre, you would put it on the dot that you've just made, and this is going to be the exact centre of your card. So about that first one, that was just to give us the guide. So that there is the exact centre. So if you wanted to put a sentiment or a die cut on there, then you've got the exact centre just right in the middle there, just by using that. You can see these pink lines here. They are thirds, so they separate the ruler into thirds depending on whether your card is portrait or landscape. But it also serves another purpose. Supposing I wanted to put a sentiment on and it's a straight one, and I'm not very good at getting things straight, you would put the tea ruler depending on whereabouts on the card you wanted your sentiment, and if you wanted it in the middle of the card, you would put the sentiment down there and you would make sure it is exactly between those 2 points. So not only do you get it straight, but you get it in the middle of the card as well, if that makes sense. And it's also good for certain types of card making, so you could use those dots to get 3 strips of card all nice and even like that. So it's really good for doing things like that. But you may wonder what these dents are here. If I can get the light off it, you can see these. I'll tell you what, I'll put the card behind it, you should be able to see it a bit better then. These are called jigs, and they've got a little lip there and they have measurements on. So these measurements are so you can place your card layers. I find anything to do with numbers really difficult. I've always struggled with numbers, so I've wrote things down to help me. But for instance, you've got your card layer here. This is just a thin card layer. I haven't cut like a thick one. I'm not going to do a card or anything today. But suppose now I wanted to put a layer down. Now this is where this one will come in handy as well, because both of these have different measurements. That has 1/2 inch and 3/8 inch, and this has 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch. So that tells you basically how large a border that you're going to get around your card or your mat. Now for your very first mat, supposing I wanted this on here, the best thing to do when you have a card base to get this accurate is to turn the card over so the fold is where the jig is going to be. So supposing I wanted a 1 inch border around this black mat, it's already cut to the proper size. We'll get to sizes in a moment. So then what you do is you turn over the ruler like that, and you can nestle the ruler against the card, so the card nestles against those ridges. And then what you would do is you would put your base on, you would stick it down, and then you move that away, and you've got a perfect 1/8 inch border all the way around. And then, I'm not going to stick this down. Right, so I've got 2 here, all with different sizes on, as we've said before. So what I've done is I've worked out the sizes of the card I would need, the size of the mats and things that I would need to go with these measurements. So basically all you do is double these numbers. So for instance, if I wanted a 1/2 inch border, I would cut it 1 inch smaller than your mat. So I took this and measured it, and I cut this 1 inch smaller than that mat, and that will give us a 1/2 inch border when we use the jig. So we turn the ruler over, nestle the card into those ridges where the 1/2 inch mark is, and you stick that down there, and when you move it away you've got a perfect I mean that's not perfect because I haven't stuck it down, then you would get a perfect 1/2 inch border around there. And for a 3/8 inch border for that one, you would double the size that you need. So you would cut it 3/4 of an inch smaller than your mat. Take your 3 inch jig, then you would put that against there and stick it down against the ruler, and you get a 3/8 inch border like that. For the 1/8 inch border you would cut the mat 1/4 of an inch smaller than the mat or the base. And like we've already shown this one, but just to show you again that it works, put that on there like that, and that on there like that, and you've got your border all the way around. I know it sounds complicated, but all you have to do is double the sizes of these to get the size of the mat. So once again, if I wanted a 1/2 inch border, I would cut it 1 inch smaller than the mat or the card base, whichever you're using. If I wanted a 3/8 inch border, I would cut it 3/4 of an inch smaller than the mat or the base. And if I wanted a 1/8 inch border, I would cut it 1/4 of an inch smaller than the mat or the base. And then you can apply the layers by using these jigs, and it does make it easy. Once you get used to the measurements, it does make it easier. So once again, when you put your first layer down, or your first mat, make sure you're doing it on the folded side there. Otherwise you might find that when you put it down it's going to slip and slide, and when you try and put your mat or your base down, it's possibly not going to be accurate because it slips under the ruler like that. So turn it around so it nestles in neatly there. That's really neatly and tight there. And then you would take your mat, and that tucks in nicely there. And then what you would do is make sure, if you're using pattern paper, make sure that you've got the pattern upside down, because then you can turn the card around and you've got it the right way up. I did try doing it on the card opening side, but it wasn't quite as accurate. It tended to still slip under there a little bit. I mean, that's okay. I suppose it depends on the thickness of the card that you're using. So that's worked out okay. So I'll do that again. So I want this 1/8 inch like that. Yeah, that's sliding about there. So yeah. So I'm going to stick that on there, pretend I've stuck that on. And there's your 1/8 inch border all the way around. And then I want a 1/2 inch smaller than that for that mat. So I turn the jig around, got the 1/2 inch measurement there, turn the jig around, nestle it again, the black mat this time. It's a bit fiddly. There. So that's nestled against the black mat. Oops. That should really be stuck down. And then you would put that there. And that would be your border all the way around the inside mat, if that makes any sense, the inside layer. So I just think these are extremely useful. I'm sorry if I haven't explained it very well, or if the light's been getting in the way, but I just think these are sort of game changers when you're making cards. The A2 card or your A7 card. So your A2 card is your 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and your A7 is your 5 by 7 card, which are very popular measurements. So I don't know if this has been helpful at all, because I don't feel as though I've explained the the measurements very well. But basically, again, just to reiterate, these measurements on these jigs just make sure that the card layer that you cut is double the amount on here. So a 1/2 inch border, you would cut 1 inch smaller than your mat, and then you can nestle it into that little jig there. So what I'll do is, if I try and remember, I will make a note of all these measurements and put them on my blog post, so you can have a look, and hopefully it should be a little bit clearer by then. I might get ChatGPT to help me with the explanation, because I'm not very good with numbers, like I said, and things like that. But either way, I'll try and remember to put it on my blog post so you can go over there and have a look. So thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry if this has been a bit complicated, but it is easy once you get to know how, and it's great for placing down your layers. So you can actually, instead of having to use wet glue all the time, you can use your tape runners or double-sided sticky tape, and you can put your layers on, because you know it's going to be accurate. What you can do is you can put your double-sided tape on, or your tape runner on there, just nestle it into the corner, stick it down, and you don't have to worry about wiggle room or wet glue or anything like that, because it'll just stick straight on, just a little bit faster for you, that's all. So I hope this has been helpful. I thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye now.